let's do a saw. Now you can make saw vices. This is a bought one, this one's a Joplin. I've seen distant ones around. This was in a second-hand shop. I bought this about, it would have been easily 25 years ago. It was in a second-hand shop, and they wanted $100 for it. And I said to the guy, that thing hanging up on the wall, I'll give you $30 for it. The guy said, oh yeah, all right, on one condition. I said, what's that? He said, you tell me what it is. I said, no, sell it to me first and then I'll tell you what it is. So he did, and then I told him, oh, it's a saw vise. Oh, really? So there you go. I've seen them on eBay. Sometimes you can pick them up for $50. Sometimes a little bit more. You can make one just using 2 bits of wood and a couple of clamps either end. You don't need anything flash and fancy. It's just I've got this one, so I'll use it. And now these files that I'm using, they are absolutely brilliant files. I got them from, there you go, that's the name of them. I got them from Anthony from Lee Nielsen, Australia. Big thing I would suggest to people who are going to buy them with the handles. But I made the handles later, and it took me an age to get around to doing the handles. So if you're going to order the files, you can get them from Lee Nielsen, Australia, if you're in Australia, and that's where he is. If you're going to buy saw files, get the handles, unless you're going to go home and make the handles as soon as you get home, because it took me months to get around to making the handles, because it does hurt when you're using them and they're digging into the palm of your hand. It's not very nice. So okay, what we'll do, I've been using this a fair bit. This is a Lee Nielsen 8 CPI, and I've been using it a fair bit on the construction work I've been doing in the shed. So what we're going to do, you pop it in the vise. The downside with these vices is that you have to move the saw along when you get to about here. Whereas if you make a saw doctor to take the full, I believe that's what they're called, saw doctor to take the full width of the blade, length of the blade, then you can put it in it, clamp it, and not worry about it. Okay, trick is when you're using these files is get the file that fits the saw. And what you actually want is a file that is going to go about 1/3 into the tooth without being too wide. This one is the right one for this, whereas if I use this one, it would do it, but actually it wouldn't do it too badly. But you don't want it so wide it's going to knock the width of your teeth out. Actually, I think I'll use this one. There you go. There's 3 surfaces, and the edges have also got teeth on them. So try and keep the one surface in contact. Instead of pushing and pulling it and turning the saw, just keep it on that one edge the whole time. Actually, Paul Sellers has got an idea, and I really think it's good. It's a great idea. So all the credit for this idea goes to Paul Sellers. I don't know if he watches my videos, but I sometimes watch some of his. But that's all good. Ideas are to share, and woodworking we should share with each other, I reckon. But what he says, instead of cutting all the teeth the same, which is at 90 degrees, these are rip saws, by the way. There's 2 sorts of saws. There's rip saws, and there's fleam cuts, which are cross-cut saws. The difference is in the teeth and the way they're sharpened. Fleam cut or cross cut are a little bit more difficult to sharpen. Oh, not difficult, but more involved. Whereas with rip saws, they're just a straight, easy draw with the file. So the back of the leading edge of the tooth is really perpendicular, and it cuts by pushing, chiseling the timber out. And a cross cut, it cuts by severing the fibres. So cross cut is when you cut across there And the fleam cut, which is at 60 degrees and also at an angle, actually severs the fibres as it cuts through, whereas a rip saw, which this is, actually chisels and knocks the timber out straight away, sort of gouges it out like a chisel. So sometimes they're hard to start, especially if you've got a big hooker like this. Oh, this is a 4 TPI. Okay, that's pretty darn hefty going. And this cutting edge here is at 90 degrees. So when you start, especially with a low numbered TPI, which the lower the number, the more aggressive the cut, you really don't want to start cutting your timber by pushing a 90-degree chisel straight through it. So what Paul suggests is you start off with an inch at about 70 degrees, and then another inch at 80 degrees, and then the rest of the saw is at 90 degrees. That way you've got a leading edge, so when you start cutting a piece of timber, I don't know if you've tried it, you get a piece of timber and you're trying to start it and it just won't start. By having that progressional teeth for the first couple of inches, it helps you just to get started on your cut, then you can come through with the full blade. I think it's particularly useful up to about an 8 TPI, possibly a 10, but if I'm using a 12 TPI, the teeth are fine enough, I'm not too worried about it. So what you do, have the blade flat and then tilt it. Not much. You don't want to tilt it so this edge is at 90 degrees, which is what we want up here. So it's just, you can leave it flat or just bring it forward a little bit. And then I've got 8 teeth to the inch, or 8 points to the inch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'll do 8 at that.